Hello everybody! Welcome to another episode of our AM2R playthrough. Guess what? We're exploring caves, because it's a Metroid game, and this is how this goes.
It's almost as if it's a cave story.
Oh my god.
Gasp.
I was just listening to the soundtrack of that game.
It's a good soundtrack.
It's a great soundtrack.
That's a game of... Oh, here we go.
Boss.
Yeah, this is really cool. This is like... I think this is, well, one of the first boss fights in the game that is not just a Metroid, and it's just cool. It's really tense, and it comes out of nowhere, and I really dig that.
Yeah, it is really tense. The original version is also pretty tense.
Cool.
I'd say all the bosses in this game are pretty well designed, like well done.
Yeah.
Like none are too challenging, but like, you know, once you figure out once you got a strategy against them, it's pretty fun to take them out.
I have a bit of a bone to pick with the Omega Metroid, but
oh yeah, fuck that thing.
That's whatever. That's neither here nor there, and we'll get to that later on. Yeah, though I actually might have. Yeah, let's move on.
This boss though, like, it is tense because there are so many times where I'm just like, shit, I'm gonna die, and then like just barely at the end you edge it out.
Yeah, so I don't know if I think that boss. I think the walls come in based on how much damage you give the boss. So like it's always gonna manufacture that tension. But I'm not sure if it's that or if it's actually just time based. Like if you keep it going, it'll close in completely.
I'm just glad this doesn't take on Mega Man logic and spikes are insta kill, because that always makes me nervous.
Yeah. I just started playing the game. I'm not good at understanding things sometimes. I was not up to date on my my morph ball stickiness and how that entirely works.
Your spider trackball.
Yeah, exactly.
Or spider ball.
My spider ball. Although it doesn't actually matter that much because I actually can't even get through this door, as I'm discovering right now.
But you did get a missile upgrade.
I did get that missile upgrade, it's true. Very
75
important.
already? I feel like that... it's been a few weeks since I played this game, but 75 missiles feels a bit high.
You get a lot of missiles in this game.
You do, it's true.
The game has to design itself so you kind of have to have a lot of missiles because they're the only things that kill the Metroids.
Yeah, and also most other bosses. They really prioritize those missiles a lot.
Not super missiles, not unless you go out of your way to look for them.
Yeah, no, super missiles take a while, and I think at max in this game you can get maybe 20, I think, top. But I did not do that. Because I'm not skilled enough to do a 100% playthrough. And also that by the end of this game, I was like, okay, I like this game a lot, but I think I'm ready to finish this game.
It's got a pretty, I'd say this game is a pretty good length. Like, it's not too short, not too long. Like, it feels just about right. If anything, I felt it ended a little short, because I remember getting to the final boss, I'm like, oh, is this it?
Yeah, I mean, this game is about the same length as kind of any other Metroid game. Like, you can get through this thing in 4 hours, 5 tops. It does not take long, but I think Metroid games just generally are not that long, other than maybe the Prime games.
To be fair, the original version is 10 times longer because you don't have a map.
Right, of course.
Skip to the end.
All right, I do not get that reference.
That was from Spaced. If you haven't watched Spaced, you should definitely watch Spaced. Both of you. If you guys haven't seen that show would appeal to both of you very, very much, and it's great.
I never heard of it.
Oh, it's have you seen Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz or World's End?
Yes.
Yes to all of those.
No, just Shaun of the Dead.
Okay, so before that team, so that team is, I mean, it's like Nick Frost, Edgar Wright, and Simon Pegg. And before they did Shaun of the Dead, they had this TV show on BBC called Spaced, along with Jessica Stevenson, who was the co-writer and also one of the co-stars of that show. And it's really great. It's like 14 episodes long. It's fantastic.
You know, I have seen
the
first episode that I watched in a class once, and I remember it being
really
good.
What?
Never fought.
What class did you watch that for?
Oh, this was it was a part of the curriculum. It was the television and something course. It was an English class. It was one of my favorite English classes. And every week we would watch like a TV show of like another series from a different genre, and we would just talk about it. And that was a damn good English class.
You know what was also part of the curriculum in school? Télé-français. Télé-français. I know nobody who's Canadian, who's like not Canadian, is gonna get that joke. But
I'm Canadian, and I don't get that joke.
You don't?
No.
You didn't. Wait, Will. What about you?
French.
French class.
I mean, it's obviously French, but I don't. Yeah, no.
Wait. Okay, because I thought it was sort of like it's sort of a well-known thing on like Canadian school kids, where in French in like what 5th grade or 4th grade French class, you had to watch like this stupid French show called Télé-français. Starring like this deranged-looking like French pineapple.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I never did that. I mean, I went to private school when I was like from like grade 1 to grade 8, so my curriculum was probably different and worse.
My friend, I was hanging out with a friend the other day, and she made me like remember that show. I'm like, oh no, that show is creepy.
Yeah, no, my French teacher just
shit.
Yeah, that thing pops out of nowhere. My French teacher had a hand doll called Picouli. And then at a certain point, she stopped using the hand doll and would keep telling us that Picouli was on vacation. And he never came back. He never came back.
That makes me worried for the puppet.
Yeah.
By the way, that same Metroid, I swear that scared the shit out of me when I played the original version, and that thing just popped out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think there's something to the Game Boy version being like scarier almost by way of being lo-fi, like just because it's like this one thing and the sound is sort of low quality Game Boy chiptune sort of stuff. I think it does have like a certain power to it that maybe this game doesn't have. It's got some mystery and some like weirdness.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, and I mean, like, honestly, I think that's just it owes that to the fact that it is kind of crappy in the sense that it had to sort of be because of the Game Boy. But yeah, it's still, like I said before, like it's still like I still was very shocked by the time I finished that game. Where I was just like, I'm playing a Game Boy game, and I'm like it has terrified me more than most like modern horror experiences. Yeah,
there really is just something to that aesthetic, I think. Like just generally lo-fi things, I think have a tendency to be, for me at least, like slightly creepier because they're, I don't know, maybe it's just part of just like because there are visual artifacts and like, I don't know, there's something to like the black and white nature of the Game Boy specifically, and that, I don't know, it's just like really effective.
Jordan, you've told us a lot about like the original and how it functions and how the mechanics work in comparison to this. But I just gotta ask, like, did you have a good time with it? Like, is it fun? Would you recommend it to people who, I don't know, would you recommend it?
I would recommend it if just only to see like how the series has evolved, and also just because it is a very unique experience. Like it is like it's still a very sort of horror kind of experience. In sort of in the same way that Dan said it, because it was like very lo-fi or low quality because of how it's like the time, but like it has. I think it's a good thing to play just because it has more atmosphere than almost any other game I've ever played, and it's like a small little low quality Game Boy game. It has the atmosphere down pat, and if you want to like learn how to make any sort of experience, be it like a video game, a video or something, and I hate these stupid things.
Yeah, like these guys are the worst.
I know. Like honestly, like you could learn how to make tension in an experience just by like playing that game, because it's a master of tension.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think one of the things that maybe is on the Game Boy one's advantage is just the music and the sound. This game's got really good stuff. I don't want to diminish the fact that like the work in this game is incredible. But I think one of the things where you can tell it's a fan game and not a Nintendo game is actually in the music. Specifically, like, a lot of the music is ripped pretty much directly from the Game Boy game, but there are all these remixes that are... I mean, they're the same tracks, just with, like, all these sort of different, more modern, like, MIDI tones. And sometimes those tones just, like, they don't... Sometimes they're great. Like, I really think the first theme that pops in like the first area of this game is really, really great. But then some ones, like, well, actually the level that we're in right now have these MIDI tones that, like, they just don't quite work. Like, aesthetically, they're just a tiny bit off. And again, this is, like, super nitpicky. Like, I think it's fantastic work, but it is, for me, one of the things you can point to tell, like, oh yeah, this was not made by Nintendo. Even things like that, like, even when you get items and you have, like, the usually in the 2D Metroid games, traditionally those have been sort of these almost like very lush sort of orchestral sort of tones, whereas this one is very sort of cold and staccato and all of these different things, which is just, like, it's just very different tonally and aesthetically than what Nintendo does with tracks like this a lot of the time.
That's true. But I mean, like, you know, I think, like, even if you, like, I think that overall this is superior to the original Metroid 2. But at the same time, I think the original Metroid 2 is more worth playing because of this. Like, this game would not exist without that. And you have to see, like, all the stuff that it drew on and all the stuff that, even, like I said, it does tension a little bit better, and it just has. You have to you have to play the original, just sort of appreciate the remake a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, I'm probably never gonna play actual Metroid 2 just because. I mean, yeah, no, it's like I've watched some clips of it, and, like, I've watched an almost full playthrough of it, just to sort of see, because I was very curious about where this game deviates from that and comes up with new stuff. But it's just, yeah, I think that sort of stuff can be very archaic, and it's one of the things that I really love about, like, Let's Play culture and those things existing, because I think a lot of games, especially a lot of older games, are really tough to go back to and play as a player, and you sort of have to go into it with a certain mindset that I think not a lot of people can go into, and I like that Let's Plays can take away the pain of actually having to do that yourself, and you can still basically experience the thing without having to go through the headache of actually dealing with playing them.
That's true. Though I will say, if anybody actually does plan to play original Metroid 2, like, have a map screen up that you just Google somewhere on, like, just with you at all times, because you will get fucking lost.
Zelda 1 syndrome. I don't know, what was it about old games and not including, like, a map sequence?
Sorry, what was that, Will?
Oh, I'm not sure what's, okay, sorry, there's an ad playing in the background on my computer. But, yeah, I'm not really sure what's up with a lot of old games and not including, like, a map. Zelda 1, I think, is the biggest offender.
I think a lot of that is just, like, I mean, I know that design-wise, like, Miyamoto wanted a sense of discovery, right? Like, he wanted it to be, you're sort of walking around and you have to sort of figure it out and discover it.
Yeah, but then there's times when you have to, like, flame one tree in a series of rows of trees.
Sure,
and
there's some weird stuff in that first game. But also, I feel like a lot of that is taking. You have to realize, like, Zelda was kind of the first game of its kind.
Yes.
Not only that, but you realize, like, back then, making the most basic of features would have meant, like, giving the cartridge like a brain hemorrhage. It just could not be done.
Yeah, fair. It was a product of the time, and you know, I think that's, from what I've heard of people who grew up with that, from people who've grown up playing that game, that was all part of the experience, that sense of exploration. Because, like, you know, once you find that, like, with that one tree to burn to find your next path, it gave a really good sense of accomplishment and exploration. Like, you know, it helps you get to know the land a lot better, and that's why I find people who are, like, you know, fans of that game, like, really know that game inside out, but most likely because they spent hours, you know, as kids playing it. It also, I think it was also, like, a way of, like, increasing the time of the game. and longevity of it, yeah, because giving a map would have, you're just going one point to the other.
Yeah, and it's like, yes, you also have to remember that that's a game, because it was, I don't think it was actually like the first sort of like adventure game, not like a text adventure, but it was one of the first. I mean, I think there was a game actually just called Adventure that was like a game that was sort of like Zelda, but yeah, Zelda, that first one it's very influenced by like text adventures and stuff, right? So when you're talking about these solutions being sort of weird and like arcane, it's kind of based on that, because text adventures were the same way. Like, these were short things that were quite small, but just took a really long time to figure out, because you had to figure out like the exact combination of like commands and stuff, because it was parser based. And so Zelda, I think, is basing a lot of its design off of that stuff.
For reference, Dan, are you talking about Adventure on the Atari 2600?
Yes, I believe that is what I'm thinking.
Oh, this is incredible to watch. it's
yeah, I've never actually seen it. I've never actually seen that game in action, but that was also the first game that had an Easter egg in it.
Oh.
There was a special room you could get to, because at that time, I think in games there wasn't really a concept of like crediting creators, really. So there's a secret room you can get to in Adventure that has like a list of all the people that worked on the game, which was like that was just like not a thing that happened at the time. In fact, I think studios a lot of the time would go out of their way to just be like, oh no, it was made by this company. Not having any actual credits or people's names on it. So yeah, that's the first Easter egg of all time in video games.
That's really cool.
And it wasn't even Easter.
It might have been, actually. I don't know where the Easter part came from, but it's probably there. There must be a reason.
Yeah, this is cool. It's like Zelda, but like... It's like Zelda meets Thomas Was Alone. Like, it's all just squares. Like, the characters and the objects are really just like squares.
Right, I mean, it's an Atari game.
Yeah, super early. Like, we're talking Atari here.
Yeah.
Do you think Samus gets dizzy in these things?
No.
Gotta go fast.
I think if she can already somehow turn herself into a giant ball, I think centrifugal force, I think, just like does not really affect her. She has a spacesuit, It helps. It does stuff
right.
to, you know how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Physics. Yeah.
Oh, what do we got? Wave beam.
Yeah, wave beam is good. That's a good power up.
This was in yeah, the wave beam was in the Prime series, was it not?
Yeah.
Yeah, I always found it interesting how they translated it to 3D, because like in the 2D games, it made total sense to be able to shoot through walls, but yeah, I was always curious to see how they would do it in like a 3D sort of realm.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, because they did wave beam. They did wave beam in the Prime games. In fact, like at many times it was like essential to take down certain bosses.
Yeah, that's right. And you normally use it in conjunction with the X-ray vision, so you can see through things. So you knew what wall you were shooting through.
Yeah. Okay, guess you gotta find another way out.
I think it's the thing right behind you.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, you just wanted to you just wanted to show off Samus's idol.
Yeah, you gotta see that idol
sprites.
animation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I also just wanted to make sure you guys appreciated the full scale of this room right here. It's pretty good. It's pink, reddish, brown.
I like this room. It's a nice room.
It's pretty good.
It's got a pretty nice Chozo statue there.
You just gotta see how every pixel of it looks when it gets bombed.
Yeah.
So I kept this in because I just wanted to show the complete AM2R experience, which is really the experience of any like Metroidvania game the first time you're playing it. But especially in Metroid games, you're just you reach the point where you're like, okay, I'm just gonna bomb everything, and there's probably something that's gonna break. But it is pretty funny that I missed that very obvious. Like, that's the thing. I feel like in this game, a lot of the time, and I think I've said this previously, but a lot of the time in this game, I find the contrary to a lot of games that are like this, a lot of the fault was like my own of getting lost. Like, there's a point later on where I got supremely lost and spent probably an hour looking for where I had to go until I finally just was like, okay, screw this. I'm just going to look up a Let's Play, and I'm going to find where I am, and I'm just going to figure it out. And I found it, and it was a place that was, like, very, very obvious. And I was just not paying attention.
Wait, this is a later part of the game?
This is a later part of the series, yes.
Oh, okay.
But also the thing that just happened. Which is, like, to the game's credit, because a lot of these games are sort of designed in an opaque manner where you can get lost very easily. And I find that every Metroidvania game has one moment where you're like, oh god, okay, well, now what do I do?
In Super Metroid, it was the stupid wall jump section.
Yeah, the wall jump is ridiculous. Fun fact, you can actually wall jump in this game. You just, like, they never really tell you, and you also never really use it.